Welcome to Sikbaggers YouTube channel. I'm Steve. Today we're going to be talking about Klock Werks windshields. We're going to be actually installing 2 of them, and I'll show you how to measure for your Klock Werks. Now you would assume with all the Klock Werks windshields that I have up here right here that I was sponsored by Klock Werks. I can assure you I am not. I have actually purchased at full price every single windshield that you see back here. And there is a reason for that. I have never reached out to Klock Werks to try to get some kind of promotional deal with them or anything, just because I really like the windshields. Now, 5-6 years ago when I started this channel, we started with the 2014 Street Glide over here. That was going from pretty much stock up to what you see now. And one of the very first things that I purchased was the Klock Werks 5-inch windshield. This is the 5-inch flare. I don't even know if they still sell the 5-inch flare or not, but this is the first thing that we purchased for this bike outside of a set of handlebars. So not only does it look good on the bike, but it performs exactly how it was meant to perform. With the dips in the side right here and then the flare in the front right there, it actually gets the wind around us and up and above the wife and I when we ride. And I swear I've told this story 1,000 times, but we put the windshield on the bike and it was probably 3 or 4 days after I got it mounted. Went into town, we turned on one of the side highways and a gravel truck pulled out in front of us, and I didn't really think a whole lot about it. I did keep a pretty good distance back away from the gravel truck, but inevitably I saw a huge rock come out of the side of that truck, bounced off the highway, came up and hit that windshield right about here, and I saw dust just like that, and I thought, oh my God, there went that brand new expensive windshield that I just bought. Pulled off the side of the road and it looked horrible on the outside. There was just white powdered dust everywhere and you could see the impact, and I thought, Jesus, I'm 3 days old and I've ruined this windshield. Got a rag out of my tour pack, started wiping it off, and lo and behold, no scratch, no dent, no nothing. I've seen so many windshields on the cheaper end, these Amazon, these eBay windshields. Now, I even know some people that buy those windshields, and the problem with those is they don't have that hard protective coating on there. They're not made with the right plastics. So what ends up happening is they may not crack or bust because you may not get hit with a rock, but what ends up happening is they don't have that hard coating that's on the outside of these windshields, and that is the scratch resistance on these. And I've talked to people that run those style windshields and they're like, oh well, after it gets all scratched up, what the hell, I'm out 30 bucks, I'll buy another one. Okay, well, you've kept your bike for 4 years now, and how many of those plastic windshields have you went through? By the time you do that, you've bought a Klock Werks windshield. So anyway, that was just kind of my story on how I was sold on the Klock Werks, and to think about before you buy a knockoff Klock Werks windshield, the scratch resistance that's added into this and how tough these things are made. Well, these windshields over here are made with the Lexan thermoplastic, and they do have that FMR hard coating. That's the hard coating we were just talking about that gives you all the scratch resistance, right? These things are super tough. 250 times greater impact resistance than glass and 30 times greater impact resistance than regular acrylic sheets, right? So when you're getting those cheapo windshields on Amazon and eBay, that's pretty much what you're getting. You're getting a cheap acrylic windshield with hardly any, if any, coating on the outside. So that's why they get scratched so easy. So let's get into the different kinds of Klock Werks windshields, because there are several now, and they don't just make them for Harley Davidsons, man. They make these windshields for a plethora of bikes. So if you go on the getklock.com and you look at all of the different, you can shop by bike over there, right? So you can see all of the different windshields that they make. It's amazing how many windshields they make. So if we go with the windshields that we have over here, we got the 5-inch sport flare for the Street Glide, the 8-inch sport flare for the 15 to 23 road glides, and then over here we've got the 11-inch sport flare right here for the 15 to 23 road glides. And then recently, well, I say recently, it's been quite a while now, they do have the color flares available now too, and I've got a couple of them over here on the table. We do have the 6-inch and the 9-inch, right? So this one here is formerly known as the red ice, and you can actually see that this is more of a pink color, but I think they've changed that on the website now. So you have your ice colors and then you have your solid colors, and you can see like the ice colors have that extra little color around the edges, and it's just how that thing is tinted. And then of course the solid colors like this is the solid red one. So on your color side, you do have your colors, and then you have your ice colors. And over here, wrapped in plastic, because we just got it, is the 11-inch sport flare for the 23 CVO 24 newer bikes. We don't have the Street Glide one because we don't have a 24 Street Glide. So even on the 23 CVO 24 newer models, you still measure for these exactly the same way. Like I said, I've already did a video on the Street Glide and the Road Glide on how to measure for these, and I had assistance in that video because it really does kind of take two people to do this and do it correctly. But I think I can sit on the bike and point the camera in it and kind of put some graphics on there to show you exactly how to do that. But the most important thing to know about measuring for these, you aren't measuring this distance right here. So this is the 11-inch smoked windshield. It's 13.5 inches long, but it's an 11-inch windshield. So how's that? Well, because the way the windshield lays back. So if you take a straight line right up here, and then you go straight across right there, and you measure this distance, that's 11 inches. If we go over here and we measure straight up like this, from right about the center of that bow hole up, we're at 6.5 inches, and that's a 5-inch windshield. But if you measure straight up and over, that's where you get the 5 inches. So it's important to remember that that's how you measure for a Klock Werks windshield. So when you're measuring for any windshield, I want you to keep this in mind, especially if you just bought your motorcycle, right? It doesn't matter if it's new, doesn't matter if it's used. Especially if it's new, because you're probably going to change a few things on their bike. You measure for your windshield actually sitting on the bike. So if you already have in your brain, hey, I need a new windshield, but I also want to get a different seat, and I also want to get different handlebars, I want you to do the handlebars and I want you to do the seat first, because you're sitting on the bike, right? Different seats can set you back, they can set you down, they can push you up, they can push you forward. All of that is going to make a difference in where your windshield needs to be. Same thing with handlebars. If you've got taller handlebars, or maybe you've got them kicked forward more, or maybe you got them pulled back more, that is going to determine where you're on the bike. If you're sitting like this, if you're sitting laid back, if you're sitting upright, it doesn't matter. All of those different things are going to make you sit on the bike differently. Second thing I want to stress is when you are out here sitting on your bike measuring for your windshield, don't sit straight up and down like you're sitting in church, okay? That's not how you ride your bike. Maybe some of you do ride your bike like that, but most of us don't. Now with me personally, over time I start to slouch a little bit, right? So if I buy a windshield that's that's hitting me right here, that I can see over the top of, by the time I get 30 minutes into my ride and I'm slouched like I normally am, now I'm kind of starting to not be able to see over the top of that windshield, right? And you're probably wondering why I have a big stupid level in my hand, because it's the only thing flat that I have that's kind of long, and that's what we're going to use today. So once again, doing this without the aid of an assistant, I'm going to try to make sense as best I can. So there's a common misconception about windshields is that the windshields have to be above your eyes or above your helmet or whatever to get the wind to go above you. And there are some junky windshields out there that is absolutely the case. With the Klock Werks windshield, that's why they have the flare and the pockets on the sides. It gets the wind around you and gets the wind up and above you. So these are not, once again, not designed to look through. You're going to have a distortion in your vision if you try to look through that flare. So don't do that. Make sure that you got in your little slouch position and that you got it right out straight like this. You're going to take that level, you're going to put it out like this, right? Right below your nose is where I like to do it. I like to do it right on my lip right there. And you're going to go straight out. So this is why it's important to have two people, because you need somebody on this side doing the measuring, right? Harley Davidson, if you're watching this, this is horrid. I don't even know who designed this. You should fire that person. It looks pretty cool, absolutely worthless. And I think I was probably right about there in the level, so I'm between 9 and 10 inches, right? So, and I got the 10-inch sport flare for this bike, so that's what we're going to be installing today. Super easy to put on. So here's a recommendation I'm going to give you just based off my use on Klock Werks windshields. So my recommendation to you, just based off using Klock Werks windshields for the last 6 years and purchasing several different ones, if you're right at that 10-inch mark, right, I would advise you to step down a windshield. If you're right at 10 inches and you go over there and they're like, they got a 10-inch windshield, and you buy that one, most of the time that's happened to me, it was a little taller than what I wanted it, just like that smoke windshield that's over there. that was a mistake. I bought the smoke one for the 15 to 23 Road Glide, put it on because that's what it measured out to be. And over time, I found myself I kept you know, trying to look over the top of the windshield instead of just relaxing and being able to see over the top of the windshield. So if you're right at 10 inches and you go over to the website and you're like, oh, they got a 10-inch windshield, step down, just step down one. The flare and the pockets are going to do what they're supposed to do. So it's not going to hurt you to step down one size so you don't find yourself going over a blind hill and wondering what's in the road over there, and you find yourself pulling up and looking while you're riding, right? You can just set naturally and see what's in the road, right? Like this one is the dark smoke. The one on the street glide is like they're black, and the black is black. You cannot see through the black, right? The dark smoke, it's a little bit you can see through, and then of course they lighten up from there to down to a clear windshield. So they have several different options on color, but just remember, black is zero visibility. That thing is black. Now what I use to clean these is the Shine Works. This is a 4-ounce bottle, and this has lasted me forever. I still got quite a bit in here, but that's what we clean the windshields with. It's very easy to do. This is what, of course, they recommend, but we just give it a nice little mist. Clean towel to do this. Make sure that you don't have a bunch of contaminants and junk all in your towel. We're just going to smear this around. And then we're going to flip it over to the dry side, and we're going to clean it. Now that we have the windshield on there, I can sit down on the bike. I can see right over the top of that windshield, probably about this much over the top of that windshield. And I know that that flare and those pockets are going to get that wind above me and above her too. So perfect size. So hopefully that little walk around there showed you the different windshields that we actually use on our personal bikes. There's one thing I forgot to mention earlier when we were going through the Klock Werks windshield, the different ones. They do make a Pro Touring windshield too as well. The difference between the flare and the Pro Touring is kind of the way it sets up on the bike. So the flare windshields are kind of come back and then flare up, where the Pro Touring ones kind of go more up and then flare out. We don't personally run the Pro Touring flares. We never have. I've never purchased them, so I don't know how they work. I can't give you a lot of insight on the Pro Touring flares. I just know that one's a little bit more laid back and one's a little bit more up. So it's been a while since I did a Klock Werks video, and I thought it was important to get another video out for you guys because we had the 2 new windshields to install and just kind of fell in place. And that included the new windshield for the 23 CVO and the 24 and newer models. If you guys have watched any of my videos in the past, you'll know we even got a whole series called Balling on a Budget. So it's not like we're in here just blowing money and buying top of the line stuff. There's an actual reason why I use Klock Werks on my bikes. Man, I won't use anything else. They work, they're strong, they're impact resistant as hell, and they don't scratch up super easy. So it's worth the investment to get the Klock Werks windshield. And which, by the way, both of these are for sale, and I have them marked down pretty well because I just don't need them. If you want to get a hold of me, you can go to the About section on the YouTube channel and you can find my email. Shoot me over an email and I'll give you the price. It'll include free shipping in the United States. So once again, we have the 6-inch pink ice, or the old red ice is what it was called. It's fairly pink. And then on this one, it is the 11-inch smoked sport flare as well. So both of these for sale. Hit me up if you want one of these. So that's going to wrap up our video today. Hopefully this video helped you on how to measure for a Klock Werks. Talked about all the different Klock Werks windshields. If you enjoyed this content, make sure to hit the like, hit the subscribe, check out the rest of the channel. Over 250 bagger and softail related videos, including a lot of maintenance stuff too. Stuff that you can do at home, save money, put that money back in your pocket, work on your own bike, learn your own bike. It's going to make you a better rider. I'm going to get out of here, get myself cleaned up. I hope to see you in the next video. But until then, as always, be safe. Keep your knees in the breeze. Hey, thanks for stopping by and checking out our videos today. If you like what you see, make sure you hit that like button, hit the little subscribe button popping up over here. If you want to check out more of our content, I've got 2 videos right here that'll get you started. Not really going to say anything else, just click one of those videos and take you to another video.